Welcome to HBH Group Growth Nuggets. This is where we will be discussing different topics as part of your learning journey with HBH. In this video, I will be showing you how to complete the VCare Restraint monitoring chart, both in the Anyware app and the Kiosk. Monitoring of restraint use will be recorded on the monitoring form in VCare of the resident to verify safety checks have been conducted regularly when the resident is on restraint. For example, not greater than 2 hourly between checks or as per care plan. If the care plan indicates hourly, then it should be monitored hourly as scheduled. Note that monitoring charts are only going to be completed if the resident has been assessed and approved for restraint use. Also note that the chart monitoring should be completed when the restraint is on. As soon as the restraint is taken off, further charting and monitoring are not required. Please make sure to mark the restraint off if the resident was taken off with the restraint. Let's start. Once you logged on to Anyware app, go to the Resident Care section. It will take you to the taskboard where your allocated residents are. You can update the resident list if you are assigned in a different community or if your resident is not in your task list. In the resident page, click the Add New Item button. Then select Charts from the drop-down menu. From there, choose Restraint Monitoring Chart. This will take you to the Restraint Monitoring page. It is important to note that fields marked with orange lines are mandatory, and it is important to be completed before proceeding. You can also use the Next and Previous Residence buttons to quickly move through your allocated residents and complete charts for others as needed. The type of restraint drop-down allows you to select the approved restraint type of HBH group. The restraint on and off boxes can be filled in using the drop-down clock button or by clicking the hours and minutes field to specify the desired time. Like for example, 1300. Please note that this should be in a 24-hour format to avoid confusion between morning and afternoon times. The reason for the application and removal of restraint is already pre-populated. However, should the pre-populated option not be applicable, you can click on Other. The system will prompt you to write your specific reason for taking the restraint on or off. For example, transferred to bed. If the resident is approved with 2 types of restraints, such as a lap belt and a bed rails, and then when you are transferring the resident from their fold-out chair where they are using the lap belt to the bed where they are using the bed rails, you will need to chart the lap belt off and start another entry to commence the bed rails. After completing the reason for the application or the removal of the restraint, you will then need to click this section Yes to indicate that you've completed the restraint checks. Then obviously, you will need to be assessing if the resident is having pain or are being distressed. So if you click on No, then you don't have to do anything further. If you click on Yes, then the system is automatically will bring you to the actions that needs to be taken if pain or distress is observed. Like it is all already pre-populated, whether you need to be notifying the RN, whether you need to discontinue the restraint, or alternative interventions is required. Like for example, if you click on something in here, and I'll just put in there implemented music therapy. Okay. Then we go to planning for the next charting. So this is important. If the restraint was applied to ensure the monitoring frequency is followed as per the care plan. So like for example, if I needed to be monitoring this every 2 hours, I will just click in here the frequency for 2 hours, and that should be okay. And it will alert you at this time that you need to be updating your restraint chart. Then obviously you do not need to complete this when the restraint is off. So you don't need to plan for the next chart if the restraint is already off. And once you've completed the form, you need to make sure that you click on the Save and New button if you are recording multiple entries, or just click Save if you're only recording one entry. And you've done recording your restraint monitoring chart. I will now show you how to complete the restraint monitoring chart in VCare Kiosk. So on the resident page, click on Charts and Observations, and it will give you the chart type selection. Click on Restraint Monitoring Chart, and it will take you to the restraint monitoring form. You will need to click on Add New, and the same as with the VCare Anywhere, the type of restraints are already pre-populated, and these are all of the HBH approved type of restraints. So I'll just put it in that belt, and restraint was on today, now 15:12. And I'll just leave it off because I just left the resident on the chair with the restraint on, so I don't need to be putting on the restraint off section. So like for example, the resident is going for the activities, so I'll just put it in there. I don't need to be filling in others. Obviously you will always be putting out the restraint checks has been completed. It will also prompt you to assess if the resident is in pain or is distressed. So if the resident is not in pain or not in distress, you don't need to be writing to click onto that section. However, if the resident is in pain, just click onto that, and then it will prompt you to click on the actions that needs to be taken. Do you need to be notifying the RN? Do you need to discontinue the restraint or any other alternative interventions? If the resident doesn't have any pain or distress, I'll just remove that one from there. Okay, and obviously you will need to click on Save here to finish off your recording. All right. So the two arrows, left and right arrows at the top of the resident page, will actually also allow you to go onto the other residence page quickly to record the restraint, to record something on the restraint chart. And that's it. That's for the VCare Kiosk.